Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Chakra Way Meditation Podcast. Today, I've got a really special guest because this guest I met just over a year ago doing a course, and we are going to talk all about this. So, please welcome the very gorgeous Kirsty Lauren. Now, Kirsty is a light language channel. She's a multi-dimensional speaker, healer, Reiki master, Akashic Records reader, all the beautiful good things that I am fascinated by. So we did together a psychic development course, which was fascinating. I don't know how many people there were on it, but we all went off and did our own thing in various different degrees. And so Kirsty and I are reconnecting to discuss where we are now and what she's been up to. So welcome, Kirsty. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. It's so good to see you. Like, oh my gosh, what a like fast forward, hey? Like,
I know. Yeah. It was the beginning of 2023. And I know that doing that, and we might as, I give Natty Beats a big up. So I have done an interview with Natty Beats. So if you're interested, go back and find that a while back. But we both did a course with Natty Beats, psychic development course. And it's just so fascinating the shifts that were created for everybody who did that course. It was a very powerful course. It was mostly, or large amount of it was in light language, something that I enjoy but cannot do. However, Kirsty, were you using light language when you started that course, or did it in sort of wake that up for you?
it woke that up for me, but I did a course just before doing Natty's course, so about in December. And it was an online course and it was an activation for light language. And I just I actually forgot that I took the course because it didn't nothing I there was I mean I felt the activations when I took the course, but it wasn't until it was like right when we started, I think week one or week two of Natty's course, that it was just like like it was like the top just like popped. And then it was like a re-remembering. Um yeah, it was a re-remembering. And then I was doing Reiki. I was practicing Reiki, and I just remember like when I first learned when I took my course for Reiki, level two, the teacher was like, this is how you set up for healing sessions, and like no talking, just like be quiet. They just want to rest. And then so then I was doing my energy sessions, energy healings, and then I kept getting messages of like I wanted to tone or like start speaking light language or start speaking. And
Mm.
then I just started flowing with it, even though I remember being like, oh, I shouldn't be speaking or something because I was told to be quiet. And now that's how I do my sessions. It's all like light language and speaking. So
But
yeah,
tell people, so there may be some people out there who are like what light language? What on earth are you talking about? So I mean, to a certain degree, it's still like what on earth is light language? I mean, can you describe it? Can you tell me what exactly it is?
it's the language of the soul. It bypasses the mind and goes straight to the soul, to give you keys, codes, and knowledge and activations, for along your path. And it could be different for each person, um, or it might just all be sitting for a little bit incubating, and then it'll all just be activating and upgrading you at some point. For me, it was like it felt like it was just right away. And then also, it was a combination of I used to live in Canada and I moved to Thailand, and it was like Thailand was the right place for me to continue to explore that as well. But it's also it's also something that people hear. It could be tones. It could be it could it's something where your mind doesn't have to hang on to the words, because when we're speaking words, like in
They
this
all have
English
meaning.
language, they all
Yeah.
have meaning.
Mm.
And some people have a bad say like there's something behind say a trigger or something that it's like it just by having just your whole upbringing with your words and what they mean to you, they each mean something different to everybody. It kind of just has like just a lower vibrational, like people aren't just in like this love land all the time with all their words, right? And so with light language, it's like you're not focusing on the words, your mind's not focusing on like, what's this mean? It's almost like you're just listening to it. And by listening, it goes to all these other places in your body as opposed to just filtering through here, filtering through your mind. And
Mm.
also for people that are exploring past lives and previous incarnations to previous to Earth, light language is a remembrance of a combination of different past, I say off-worldly, star seeds, light beings, language. So it's channeled as well. And it's something that I don't think about. Like it as soon as I open my mouth and then words come out, like I'm speaking a whole different language, is what it is. It's like a re-remembrance.
Yeah. It is extraordinary, and I find it really soothing. I love listening to light language. And I I don't know if I've ever kind of invited it in properly to see if I can speak light language. I think, if I'm honest, I probably have a kind of limiting belief within me that goes, I can't do that. That's for somebody else. That's for other people to do. And I would be really interested. So, like, for me and other people who are listening who are going, that sounds amazing, but I could never do it. How would people begin with this? Is it just a matter of opening your mouth and seeing what comes out? Because obviously I've listened to you, I've listened to Natty. There's lots of people online who are speaking light language. And whenever someone comes through on my feed and they go, oh, here's a little light language activation for you, I was just like, just settle in, just absorb that. Oh, how lovely. Okay, that was nice. And on I go with my day. And I know that it's speaking to me on a different level. It's speaking to my soul rather than to my mind. And it is just a beautiful sort of song. And sometimes it is literally song and it is, musical. But if I wanted, or somebody listening wanted to go, how do I actually begin to do that for myself? Do you have any tips, or is it just a matter of like, it's going to come when it comes?
Well, listening to it is a great first start. Like, so what you've been doing, you've just been like, yay, I'm ready. And also just like going back to like like say, the like the chanting, like
Yeah, well, I
like
do that all the time in yoga classes. Obviously, we start all the class with three arms, and there's nothing more gorgeous than feeling that vibration within you, that resonance, especially in a room full of people. It's just my favorite thing to do. Yeah.
yeah, so that's light language as well. That chant is light language. So that's something for you to even like burst that bubble of yours of saying like, I don't know how to do it. So you're starting to do it with that with the light language. And then I would suggest like even just doing like moving around, getting out of your head of thinking about what it should be and just starting to just like when you're breathing out, just making noises and then like moving your body in a way so that you're not even thinking about what this is going to sound like.
Yeah.
And then practicing in a meditation, like for me, how it first started was I lit a candle and I was meditating and I just felt something come through, like in the way of like, I felt an energy in my body. And then I was just like moving around. And then I was like, just saying toning,
Mm.
is how that started. And then at first it felt like a little weird. But I also didn't have any attachment to how it was going to be. And I just was in like my heart center, focused on love and was playing. And so I think that's the biggest thing too, is like going back to the state of play. And so like doing whatever that means to you. whether it be like dancing or singing or just like humming, and maybe like, using your hands too, like moving.
Yes, there's
That's
always a
really
lot
key.
of this, and I love that. I think that's part of the absolute charm. There's a kind of catching of the energy that happens that I think is so entrancing. So when you are in a meditation and you're just some light language just comes through you and you're not doing it for anybody but yourself, you're just in the moment. What do you feel it does for you? What is the outcome, I guess, if you like, of having a moment of speaking light language just with yourself?
For me, there are so many different, different ways that light language is helping me. Um, for me, like it's part of my meditation. I I do have meditations where I sit in silence, or I do other ways of like, I'll listen to, say, Steve Noble as an example. But for me, I use light language like hours a day. And there's different light language for healing, for upgrading, for clearing, um, for learning. Like I've learned a lot about different types of healing modalities of light language coming through. And I also draw a lot, like, and I'll write a lot of like light codes.
Mm,
And it's like light language is, or light codes, if you're drawing it, like doing channeled writing in that way. It's almost like if you think of a file that, like, say you're downloading a file from, I don't know, off the internet, or like a photo of something, and you download the file. But now think of downloading like all your photos from your phone onto your computer in a compressed zip file,
mm,
like in a zip file. And that's what light language is, in a way of like, or light codes. So you're getting like this compressed file
mhm,
into your body that's needed in whatever in the day that you're channeling. Say you need to upgrade your stomach, or you have something going on with your stomach, and you'll get codes. Like you could get different type of codes for healing. It could be codes from different light beings. Like Arcturians are really known for their healing, advanced healing, their technology. And or it could be the time of year too. Like we just went through the Lionsgate portal. So there
yeah,
was a lot of Lyran energy coming through. Um, and it also just depends like what you're like. Sometimes I'll get little, I say little, but big light codes, compressed files, about something to do with something down the road.
mm,
Or and then other times I'm meant to just play and explore.
yeah,
So like to bring in the inner child, or that.
yeah.
So playing is also a really big one too, because there was a while where I was just like, all right, like being almost like so serious about like all this light language, okay, and then it's like, no, you need to play more. These codes are for more play. So it
Mm,
just depends. But it's for anything. Like I did a workshop, um, which was all about abundance, um, right? Manifesting abundance. And the light codes for that were just like, there was like the first 2 weeks were clearing. The third week was like bringing you up to the abundance realm, and then activating you to keep at that frequency. So that course, the light language that was coming through, was all about specifically abundance and raising your vibration.
mm,
So yeah, so it's just different. Like you can literally think to yourself, what do I want to create that's going to help other people? This is the purpose of my life. What do I want to create that's going to help other people, and lead a purpose-driven life where they're helping other people
yeah,
and they love their life? And how can I create things in that way? And then that's how the light language has been coming through for me.
yeah,
So, and that's what's been going on with like my courses, um, and just, my group offerings and things like that's what comes through, and that's how the abundance, in my teachings, is coming through. Like, how can you lead a purpose-driven life, helping service to others is
yeah,
that way.
yeah.
So that's the light language that's coming through, and that Yeah, that's the kind of a summary of that.
Yeah, no, it's really useful because you make it sound you it's really clear. And so I want to come back to something that you said because this is the other thing that I find really fascinating is that there's not just one light language. There are dozens. You've got the Lemurians, the Arcturians, the Atlanteans, the Lyrians, there's all of these different languages that come from different light beings. I mean, I don't know how do you see these different, slightly different light languages? And how do they come through for different purposes for you? Because you were saying, like the lions came through in the Lionsgate portal, because so talk to me a little bit about the different languages within the light language.
Well, everything has a consciousness. So you could even say the Milky Way galaxy has a light language.
Yeah.
You could say like there's a different level of consciousness for the different groups. Like there's like say the Lyran collective, or there's the Lyran high priestesses. It's just what you are feeling with the light language is for me it's in the heart of like, okay, is this a loving feeling? Um, and that's what I go off of is like, is this a loving feeling? But yeah, there's so many different types of light beings. I feel like we're just definitely scratching the surface on that one. Um, but
But when we're talking about all of these different types of light language and light language itself, um, it's obviously clearly very connected to this multi-dimensional thing because
mhm.
these light languages come from a different dimension or represent different dimensions, multi-dimensional healing. Is that because that's another part of your gift and what you do is this connection with the multi-dimensional. So where does that all fit in, the light language and the multi, because I'm assuming that all of these different levels, so you've got some light language that's like purely about abundance, or some that's about healing, and some that's about just upgrading and so on, but they're going to come as different frequencies because that's what's required. And is that the different multi, is that what you're sort of calling the different multi-dimensionals, the different dimensions, or is there another layer?
There's so many layers. There's like there's the
Yes, I
there's
know.
the past where like you could be getting like codes from, like your first incarnation. Mine was Mintaka. So like, like Mintakan light language could be something that's needed for me. I'll get if I'm doing client sessions, different light codes will come through, different light beings will come through for that client and what's needed. So if they're needing like a big healing or clearing, say, like disease of some sort, or say they're accessing a gift from a past life, or say from a future life, it'll be it's what's for the greatest and highest good in the
Mm.
moment that's going to help you along your way in the path of your ascension. Um, and it's the technology, I want to say, of the future, really, like it's becoming more and more mainstream. Um, I just think like even in this past year, as an example, like I've incorporated light language into my life in all areas of my life. And it's excelled me, I feel like 50 years in like one. Um, and that is the thing I could say is like the compressed file. But then there's so many different things because like we're just seeing ourselves our as our human like 3D, like today is this day, and we're moving forward in a linear fashion. But also like what you're able to do is like there's multi-level, there's like we're a multi-dimensional being. We're just maybe seeing this version, but there's like there's so many different versions happening, like past, future. You're able to access stuff and go to the future and bring it back. Like I've had times where I've been told to have a nap, like when I'm like trying to do something and I'm told just like have a nap. And then I have like a little 20-minute nap and I wake up. I've like quantum leaped somewhere into the future. I've gotten some information of like, and then I've like brought it back and I've written it all out. And I'm like, dee, 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 and I'd like, it's like, I'm like time traveling. That's what it is. It's like time traveling.
Extraordinary. So when you're, you say you're a multi-dimensional speaker, multi-dimensional healer. So like if I came to you saying, I want to find out what what's the future, what's the past, my past lives, like, is that what we're talking about when we're talking about multi-dimensional healing and speaking?
Yeah, so there's many different so it's I have energy attunements where you'll get an activation and what's needed to like quantum leap you into a higher timeline. So number one, and number two, you'll be accessing gifts that are most needed in this path that you're going down. For healing, it's it's not me that's doing the healing. It's like me and my team that are raising you to the frequency of this, like with so the light language is then providing a frequency, and also you're in that frequency where then you're doing the healing, like it's through your higher self. And so that's another one. And then also the messages, like it's intuitive. Everything's different, but I'll get a different message like something like 3 months down the road. If it's like a confirmed message, then I'll say something, I don't know, like you're gonna pass by a blue house and you're gonna want to stop by this blue house or something like super
Mm,
random. And then it'll only make sense like
in-
in that 3 months time. And then
mm,
like I'll be doing like my morning meditation and like this happens with clients. I'll also give my clients for those that are in like my programs that are doing like group programs or if they're doing the one-to-one mentorship with me, some will get daily messages from their higher self or weekly messages. And like it'll be something that their higher self is very specifically wanting them to know. So say someone like just top of my head, I was like, okay, this is the message I'm getting. You're meant to go to do like this yoga place or like go out into the community. That's what you're supposed to do. And they were like, I've already done that and it's not really. And I was like, I don't know. There's just something. And I'm like saying this and I'm writing it down and my head's going, yes, yes, yes. Like my head's nodding.
yeah.
And so I'm just like, this is the message. Just maybe
Yeah.
meditate on it. And then literally the next day, they're like, I went there and then all these things happened. And I was like, and then for me, like just an example, like I was doing my meditation, doing some light language, and then writing some notes down. And I was talking about my dog in one sentence, then the next one said no cheese. And I was like, what does that mean? And it went on to something completely different because it's like, here are all the things, here are the notes,
Random.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. And then I was like, I don't understand what that means. And then I'm going to meet someone for lunch. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like ordering my food and I was like, oh, this looks good. And I was like, oh, but it's feta cheese. I wonder if I could have that feta cheese. Because I was like, and so it was my higher self that already knew that I was going to ask that question. And then that's when I realized no cheese. That's
Jeez.
when cause yeah, but it was like, because I was like thinking like maybe feta cheese. Feta's like not really like cheese. It's like, what is it? Like, it's like,
It's ghost cheese.
it's goat cheese. Yeah. So I'm like, I was like, maybe, and then I was going to ask, but because I realized that was like, I was like prepped for the day where I didn't actually need to like think for a second. That was the answer of like, my higher self already knew that I was going to be doing that. And then, but we were on a time limit for the lunch because there was only a certain amount of time. So it was like giving me like quick little answers so I wouldn't really have to think about it. So that's just like an example of like me hopping into the future a little bit and knowing a few things that are going to happen and then bringing a couple keys and codes to like lead me down the same path. And
Yeah.
so that's yeah.
It's so fascinating. I mean, when you talk about this kind of, moving to a higher timeline and sort of this upgrades and so on. For me, the way I interpret that, the way that makes sense to me, my little sort of earthliness, is that you are simply unveiling or peeling off layers of consciousness, or maybe adding layers of consciousness, whichever way you like to look at it, but you're just getting deeper or understanding more, or just things becoming more clear and obvious and understanding more. And it's not like a in a brain knowledge. It's not like a learning of a fact. It's more just like an inner knowing and an inner understanding of what is true and what is right and what resonates for you. And that's how I kind of make sense of that higher timeline. It's more like the stages of awakening, because it was really interesting on the course that we did, the psychic development course with Natty, which I think is still available. So if anybody's like, oh, I want a bit of that, like you can do it. Uh, it's some people were like, oh my God, I can hear my spirit guides, I can speak light language, I'm doing all of these amazing things. And then there was a couple of us, myself included, going, okay, well, that's really nice, but nothing big is happening here. But so for me, what I experienced was this kind of, and the course was called Upgrade from Within, and it really felt like that. It was just a kind of an elevation of my awareness, of my innate knowledge, of my abilities to understand and listen to my higher self. So it was a slightly less dramatic or less exciting awakening that I had. But does that resonate? That sort of unfurling of, or that unpeeling, that revealing of the layers? I mean, I'm all about the chakras, obviously, and so for me, it's like that infinitely opening thousand petal lotus flower that is just constantly opening and opening and opening and revealing more of yourself to yourself. Are we
Mhm.
are we on the same lines, running kind of parallel to each other with this?
Yeah, so for timeline, for like quantum leaping onto higher timelines, and it's different for each and every person.
Mm.
But it's also so then jumping onto higher timelines, that could be like increased intuition, increased knowledge, higher levels of consciousness.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing for quantum leaping onto your highest timeline is like thinking like so if you think about it in the quantum, there's like a version of you that exists and doing all different things. Like there's the future version of you, there's infinite future versions of you.
Yeah.
So
Which comes
yeah,
back to that quantum physics, like let's get scientific about it. This is where I get nerdy and love it, where they did these experiments in within the quantum physics world, where they would look at an atom, and the electrons, protons, neutrons that were within the atom were random until they were looked at. And so they weren't fixed until they were observed. And it's a famous experiment. You can go and look it up. It exists. So don't just go, Roseanne's lost her mind. This is I've read a lot about this and I can't remember the name of it. But it's a very specific example of how our consciousness affects reality. And that's the lesson from this is, yeah, so
we're creating it. Like that we're creating that. Yeah.
yeah,
And so like that future version of you that has absolutely everything that you've ever wanted in your life exists.
yeah,
And for me and my learnings and what I'm teaching people and what I'm doing in my sessions and my group sessions is not only just for me looking at that future version that say like in a specific way, like I think maybe people in like the 3D world that are maybe living in like the big cities are like, oh well, I want like 100 houses and like all these nice cars or whatever that is, which is that's great. But I truly do believe that it's coming that like purpose driven like it's that life that dream life that exists in the future where you are full of purpose and you're like leaping out of bed in the morning and you are so happy because you are thriving, but you're helping people in a way that is bringing abundance to those people and you're creating something like magical in that way. And that feeling that you focus on, like that feeling that lights you up, and you're like, even thinking like something where you're thinking of like that is lighting you up, but it's lighting up other people. Um, that's the feeling that you want to focus on. And that's the feeling of like focusing on that and then bringing that back to you. Like it's like a set it and forget it with the universe. Like you'll do a meditation, you'll meet your future self. You're doing that with purpose driven service to others. And that's when I feel like that then there's unlimited abundance.
Yeah.
Unlimited abundance in that way because that light is so bright. There's so much that's flowing. It's not service to self
Mm.
in that way. And then once you like connect with that specific future version of you, it's it's like then you start getting these signs in your day to day where like all of a sudden say your body is just like I want to go this way, but your mind's like what am I stopping here for? Like you don't understand. But then you meet someone
Mm.
and then it's like your higher self is just like watching this like game like simulation whatever play out, but it's like following, it's not following from the mind, it's following from your heart, like following that like that feeling. And I think that was the biggest key for me. And when I started learning about the quantum, it's like following, because there's a bunch of particles everywhere, like just like in
All
random.
vibrating in their own special way. Yeah,
Mhm.
I love this what you're saying because for me, this kind of purpose-driven thing is it's kind of huge in that it's universal. So, the fact that we are all energy, that we are all vibration, that we are all just vibrating in our own little ways when we go out there to and but we are all one, we're all made up of the same stuff. We are all one. When we think we're individuals with our own little handbags and cars and what have you, but actually we are all one. And so when we go out into the world in wanting to make other people's lives better, that gets reflected straight back at us. So our lives become better, like we feel good because they feel good. And that's just the way of the universe, because everything is love, everything is vibration, and we are all one. So when we push that out to other people, it comes back to us. And who needs a Lamborghini and five houses when you get up feeling so full of joy and purpose? And yes, you have everything you need because the universe will provide what you need. Like that's what I feel like you're getting at, which I just
Mhm.
love that purpose-driven life. It's self-fulfilling in its own beautiful way. When we put it out there, it comes back.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also just knowing like the mind does want to kind of like hop back into like, oh, what if this? What if that? And then it's also just like retraining you back into your heart and that knowing. Because when you're in abundance, like in that abundance flow state, you're not in a scarcity state. And so just having that knowing, that it's also just every time you think you're like every time you're in your mind, just be like, wait, and then like bring it back down into the heart. That's
Yeah,
been
yeah,
like,
right.
yeah.
It's brilliant because the way that when I'm working with the chakras, and we're going through all of the energy centers, like there's so much earthly stuff that needs to be shifted. There's so much kind of, all the programming, all the traumas, all the stuff that's happened in our lives, which keeps us in our heads, that keeps us in that, I don't know, whatever it is, scarcity mindset, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not this, or like these stories that we tell ourselves that can be really like putting a big old wet blanket over the spirit that wants to soar and expand and be ultimately fulfilled. Like it's those earthly things that can get really, get stuck, get us stuck, get in the way. So do you feel like your work kind of transcends that? It kind of bypasses all of that nitty gritty, like, what the hell were my parents thinking when they did this? Kind of, installing that belief into me. Holy cow, why? So you're not even thinking about that. You're just like, no, let's just go straight to the higher self, straight to the higher spirit.
Yeah, I mean, for things like for me, like I have my daily practice and there's things that I look at, each and every day in my meditation practice. And then for my clients, like if they're doing say the 3-month program, or what if they're doing a workshop, it might be something that's different for each individual person. Um, but it's also about teaching how to, like, every single person's psychic, every single person's getting messages, but they're each getting their own messages in different ways.
Yeah.
And I feel like the first one, like the first signs are like listening to your body. Like you'll get, if you don't have someone, you don't have your guides talking to you, you'll get a clear yes and no answer of like, does something make you feel good? Does a person make you feel like sunshine if you're with them, or do they make you feel like repelled? That's like the initial state.
We'll have,
Um,
yeah.
mhm. And then as far as like, yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's always important, like just even going through, like, what is it, the sludge, going through, like there's like that, like knowing to flow, knowing when to be still. Like we think that we're um human doings, like go, 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 go.
Mm.
Um, and like that was a lesson that I learned with I was trying to write something, but I couldn't really, I was thinking with my mind about the words, about writing something, and then I got the message to just have a nap. And then I had the nap, and then I woke up, and then I like channel wrote this whole thing that I was like, whoa, that was way better than I ever would have thought. Okay, I'm gonna have a nap next time. So it's like we're just it's just about, yeah, for every single thing, really. It's like getting out of your mind
Getting out of your own way.
and getting into your heart, and then being, and the other thing too is like being out in nature, or being, I didn't realize the amount of codes and keys that you could get from just really listening to the rain, as an example.
Mm.
Really listening. Like I don't think I've, like, I'm from Vancouver, BC, Canada, where like it rains a lot, and like I hear the rain, but I've never actually heard it. Um, and it was the first time when I was like, okay, not just listening with your ears, but listening with your whole body and feeling like, okay, that's when you're getting these keys and codes. And that's kind of in the way where your higher self is most likely speaking to you in different ways that are not necessarily the ways that you're thinking, like in the subtle ways.
Mm.
Um, and then just like building upon that. And it's really funny too. It's really funny.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
There's so much out there. We just need to stop and take a moment to just think about it and stop doing, as you say, because we are all so busy just doing and thinking about what the next thing is. And, you know, our, and life is like that. Our work and our families and relationships and, doing what we think we ought to do, but actually just taking that moment. And, this is why it's so important to stop and meditate every day, even if it's just a guided meditation, like I do on my podcast, 15 minutes of just time for yourself, just gives your mind that space to remember who you are and what is actually really important to you. I love that. So, God, we've really been on for a long time, but there's one
Yeah.
more thing that I want to ask you about, which is star seeds. So people say, I hear people talking about star seeds, these like they're chosen ones, like they're special people who have that. So give me your definition. What's your take on that? Because I feel like you are a star seed. Maybe we're star seeds. I don't know. What's your take on it?
A star seed is a light, a frequency, and we are all here to have that frequency raise the vibration of the planet just by being you, just by being your individual self. Like everybody is a light. So as far as that, like we are an eternal soul having a human experience in a body, in this shell, but we don't end here and we didn't start here. And we've had many past lives. We're going to have many future lives.
Mhm.
And star seeds are just a bright light that are here now, having their human experience. I feel like the majority of the planet, they're star seeds.
Mm.
Some are not awake, but some
Yeah.
are still bright, bright, bright lights.
Yes, it is. It's all about the that awareness, that awakeness, isn't it? That's defines that ability to really, yeah,
Yeah,
feel.
I mean, I feel like when I first heard about it and I read about it, and like there's those categories when you first read about it, or you can then talk about different light beings as star seeds, like, a Lyran is a star seed. Like we are all stars. We are all stars. Um, we're here with a high frequency, and as we're going along, finding the things that bring us joy, finding the things that bring us love and purpose, then we get brighter and brighter and brighter. And as a collective, we're all one, right? As a collective, that frequency shift is getting brighter and brighter and brighter. And it's changing the earth, it's changing everything around us. Um, yeah, so it's just like star seeds can be asleep, they could be awake, but there's some really, 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 really bright ones that you feel like they're probably lighting up the entire city. And they might be asleep, but it's just this like it's an energy, and we're all energy.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's my
Oh,
take on it.
that's really beautiful. It's a really optimistic take on star seeds and energy as well. God, Kirsty, I could talk to you forever, and maybe we'll come back and have another chat, and we'll talk about the Reiki or the Akashic records. I always am fascinated by that as well. But for now, let's just tell people how they can get in touch with you and what kind of yeah, just what you have to offer and where they can come across you.
So you can find me on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube. My handle is Kirsty Lauren Being. So Kirstie and Lauren and Being, like light being.
Yeah.
And my website is kirstylauren.com. And I have a variety of different options, services, workshops, programs that there's something for everybody.
Really is
Um,
actually. I was looking at the website before we came on. I was like, dang, lots of tempting little morsels here. Just, yeah, there's some really beautiful offerings there. And if you feel drawn to doing this kind of work, then Kirsty is your girl. And if you want to experience that light, no, the psychic awakening, if you'd like to kind of go down that line, then Natty Beats is definitely, her course is amazing as well. And we're both students, and we both love Natty very much because she's got some gifts, that girl.
yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much, Kirsty. It has been so much fun chatting with you. It really has. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me and so good to see you. It's like a reunion. I can't believe, like, I feel like I could talk to you for hours. That felt like 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, let's do it again sometime soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.